Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. The topic of this video is um, books that you have added to your collection, or maybe you didn't add to your collection yet, that have been just so hard to find, or are presently very hard for you to find. There's quite a few in my collection that are like that. I only have a couple examples, but this video is not me just showing them all off. I'll show a couple, but it's mainly just to talk about, you know, what it's like to really, why does it take so long to find some books? There are obvious reasons, obvious answers to that question, and maybe there are some that are not so obvious. Um, for me, off the top of my head, I grabbed a couple, and they're all ECs, and I think that goes well with one of the topics that, one of the things I want to talk about when it comes to trying to find books that are just so hard to find. ECs tend to be hard to find, specific ones, okay? Specific ones. It's just that I think when it comes to ECs, because I collect these, maybe some of you don't collect ECs, maybe you have no idea what I'm talking about, and that's fine. But when it comes to collecting ECs, from what I've noticed, is that not too many people, when it comes to the bigger ECs, the really, really sought out ones. I mean, I know Crime 22 is a sought out one, and you see that on eBay quite a bit. You'll see that at a comic convention quite a bit, but you don't see this one that much. If you see it on eBay, it's maybe one or two copies, sometimes at the same time, sometimes months apart. You don't really see this one too much. Crime Patrol 15, the first appearance of the Crypt Keeper. Now, this book was very difficult to find, as you would imagine. It's in this video. So, but why? Why do you think it's so hard to find? Is it rare? I don't think it's rare. I mean, there may be a few ECs that are rare, but it's just that I think a lot of people that have that book hold on to it. It's not really one of those books that goes into the category of speculation, where people that are in the speculation game, they're buying up books and then they want to flip them. So sometimes certain books are regularly in the market. You may not agree with some of the prices that they're at, depending on what's going on with the character or whatever. But I think that's why, when it comes to some ECs like Crime Patrol 15, it's not regularly bought and sold over and over again the way some spec books are, by people that just flip books and all that. And that's why maybe it's a little hard to find. Now, what does the future hold for a book like that? Or books, for books like that, like I said? I don't know. There's always the theory that some people may start selling their collections and you might see more of them on the market. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with that per se. I don't think that there's going to be a ton of them out there, a ton of people selling their EC collections, and you're going to start seeing tons of Crime Patrol 15s. You might see a few every now and then because of that reason or other reasons. People just have to sell, all that. That's always a variable in there. But it's still one of those books I think is just going to be very difficult to find. It is. And another reason why it's difficult to get, I mean, I'll tell you my story again, is because it's kind of pricey. It's the first appearance of the Crypt Keeper. It's hard to find. So when somebody does sell it, they want a decent amount of money for it. Now, with me, it was a different story. I was more than prepared for that book once I found it. But, I got it for way less. It was sold raw. I did it with a private seller, not somebody necessarily that regularly sells on eBay or anything like that, and we were able to work out a deal, and that deal really benefited me because I was more than prepared for it, because that's the book that I was mainly hunting. And that's one of the most important things when you're really hunting for a book. It's whether it's hard to find or something that you really, really want. Yeah, of course we know you need money for it, but when you have that money in hand, you're not really putzing around trying to get a deal on it. You're able to strike pretty fast, because most of the time when it comes to a book like that, other people may be eyeing it up or have interest in it. So, even though there may be a small amount of people looking for it, the competition between that small amount could be fierce. All right. So that's one of the reasons why it was so hard for me to get that one. Two more Crypt books. We have this beauty right here, Crypt of Terror, 18. Super hard to find. It really is. They pop up. They pop up every now and then, but it's not like typing in the eBay search engine or any of these comic book dealers' search engines, or going to their stores or going to their shows and whatnot and looking for or asking for an Incredible Hulk 181. Oh, they have a ton of those in any grade you want. You may not like to pay for it at a 2.0 or an 8.0 or whatever, but guarantee you they have a copy of it. Or if they don't have it, the guy next to them has it. Not hard to find at all. Same thing with probably Amazing Spider-Man 129 and several other books. Crypt of Terror 18, Crime Patrol 15, they're not like that. And Crypt of Terror 18, again, for probably some of the same reasons I mentioned with Crime Patrol 15, a lot of people that own that book are not so willing to get rid of it. They're not speculating on that book, and they buy into it when it's cheap, and then they're quickly selling it, where it's constantly, some of the same copies are constantly in the market, or there's not an abundance of them, in general. And never mind people that just not want to sell it. There may not be as many as there are other books out there, other popular books, like maybe Fantastic Four 5, or again, Amazing Spider-Man 3 or 4. Very hard books to pay for, the ones I just mentioned, of course. Very popular and well-deserved, too. But they're more frequently out in the market than something like what I just showed you. And the last one I want to talk a little bit about here, Tales from the Crypt 20, another very difficult book to find. Now, I chose to highlight ECs because, I'm obviously an EC collector, and there's some other books out there that are non-EC, Marvel or DC, that took me a while to find my right copy or whatever. But for me, the most difficult have always been ECs, certain ECs. You can find some ECs in abundance on eBay, or if you go to a Comic-Con, you might see some of the same ECs over and over again. But for some of the ones I just showed you, not so much. Not so much. And those are the ones I just showed you were some of the ones that it's not just necessarily I needed them to fill my run. They were some of the ones that I really, really wanted above others. I wanted Tales from the Crypt 20 over, let's say, Tales from the Crypt 27 or 33 or 40 and other good books, good Tales from the Crypt books to have. 20 is one of the more important ones in the series, especially for me, as with Crime Patrol 15 and Crypt of Terror 18. It's just very, very hard to find those books on any given day, and it's not just the price, it's just people are just not willing to sell. So when it comes to other things, other books that are hard to find, like I was mentioning earlier, that are in my collection, sometimes they were hard for me to get, not because of all the reasons I just mentioned with the EC books, because sometimes we're looking for a specific type of book. We're looking for a certain copy. And I've mentioned this in a previous video about settling. I've settled for an Amazing Spider-Man 50 at a 4.0, and then when I got it, I had buyer's remorse or buyer's regret, whatever the term is called, and I was like, oh man, I could have done better than this. I really could have. And sometimes people have that mindset all the time before they buy a book. Oh, I think I could do better than this, or oh, I want something that's a little better than that. Oh, it has this defect, it has that defect, they're pickier. And sometimes that's the reason why it takes so long to get that copy. Amazing Spider-Man 50 is not necessarily a difficult book to find. It's not. And, I would say, excuse me, I would say it's not necessarily overly difficult to pay for. It can be pricey, depending on the grade, as with most comic books of value, right? But it's readily available. But sometimes people are just so picky they need to have white pages, or they don't like having corner creases or spine creases or rusted staples or discolored staples or whatever it is. And those sort of things, I'm not saying those are bad things. People people shouldn't have those things in mind when they're looking for books. They absolutely should. But because of that, that's another reason why sometimes it takes so long to get a comic book, whether it's rare or common. And I have a couple others like that are, like I said, non-EC, that have taken me a while to find the right copy, whether it's because of the condition or whether it's because of the price. Sometimes we go to the other option. Sometimes the comic books that we want, whether they're low grade, mid grade, or high grade, are not easy to pay for. You might have to sell a couple of other books, sell a couple other things. You may have to save up for these things. Whatever way you wind up getting the money, whatever way you wind up paying for them. Again, it takes a while. But I'd be interested in hearing what you have to say. What books maybe are in your collection that were very hard for you to get, or with some books you're currently hunting that you're having a hard time finding. Thank you. Take care.